just a quick background of everyone who's on the call. We have 4 people from Guch, including me. That's Bobby,
Right.
Joey, Abhijit, and me. We have Rahul from Green Chutney Films in Ahmedabad. We have Naren from Rasta Films in Hyderabad. And then now we have...
Nice.
So I think before
Great.
we get into the lockdown conversation, maybe we should do a quick round of introductions.
Sure.
I think we are not expecting anyone to join now after this call. After this, I think the only person who's not joining is Wowmaker. So this is it. And we can start with a quick, like a 1 minute, like introduction of each, I mean, all the companies here and the individuals. And then we can maybe, do the call. So that, so maybe I think, Naren, why don't you get going? Like, you're the first one who joined. So.
So yeah, if I quickly, I'll just take 5 minutes to just tell you what and how we all started off. So so Rasta again is divided into Rasta Films and Rasta Studios as well. So Rasta Films is completely in the independent content. We're into feature films. It's all web series and travelogues that the founder of Rasta, my partner, Sai. So he's taking care of Rasta Films, and I handle Rasta Studios. So as a CEO, so Rasta Studios again, we all do the same thing. So nothing more to talk about it. Anything in the form of visual storytelling, I think we are game in, including animation and live action. I think that is in short, yeah.
Sure. Rahul, why don't you go?
Yeah, hi. I'm a co-founder of a company called Green Chutney Films. So we are a single studio. We started with the idea of building content. So we have our own asset called Untypical, where we also generate content, where we have been generating a lot of fictional content. We recently did a film, a festival film, which is currently traveling in festivals. And plus we do all kind of ads, all kind of formats of ad work, which kind of works with the brand. So yeah, I mean, we do branded content to keep our kitchen going, and then we make films for the dreams which we have. So it's kind of, how we all...
Yeah, because all of us are pretty much...
I think all of us are in the same boat.
Yeah, we get our bread from somewhere, but we don't like that bread, and we always go for the chutney, which is somewhere else. That's, the taste for the tongue and the taste for the mind.
I think we just needed a single intro for all of us. I don't think we need each.
I agree with that.
Sure. Yeah. Why don't you like a quick intro?
Yeah. So we are called Kadai Films. So we started up in Chennai, and I'm glad to see Rahul from Ahmedabad. We the co-founders, 3 of us, me, George, and Farooq. So we are infamously called the Amar Akbar Antony, but yeah, whatever. So right. So we are actually the graduates of NID Ahmedabad. So when I heard Ahmedabad,
nice.
Like, wow, that's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we did then, and we kind of worked for some time, and then we started off a production house in Chennai called Kadai Films. So we are mostly into advertising, commercials, pretty much. I mean, we all started with the same dream to make that story that we always wanted to say. So now first the kitchen and then the drawing room. So we kind of are in the same journey. So it's been 8 years since we kind of started off in Chennai. And the reason we kind of picked Chennai is also our roots are from the south, and we thought our stories are best told in the language that we know best. So we kind of chose to set up here and then work from here. So, but now we pretty much have done across languages, so kind of has worked pretty well. And this year we kind of ventured into fiction content, the soul space that we want to be. So that's a new vertical that we started off this year. In which, again, web series, feature, every story that you want to say, same thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's
cool.
Us.
We are also three and +1/+2 friends.
Nice. We are 3 years old. So we started in 2016. We all are the post-Geo boom, is it?
Yeah, we started in 2012 in Chennai. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You guys are
2015 in Hyderabad. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll do a quick introduction about us. I have a Gujarat connection. I passed out of, I did my college in Surat. So I think there's another Gujarat connection. And then see, we have a very different story. We are not from anything that's close to creative. The reason we came into this is because we wanted to do a YouTube show on startups. So our focus has always been the startup ecosystem, being in Bangalore, and we put out something on YouTube. We called that Venture Capital, and we made a couple of documentary films also on starting up, and that has clearly been our only focus. And even through the last close to 3+ years of doing content, so we started out with a YouTube show. We made some documentary content on startup. Again to keep this going, a bunch of startups asked us whether we could help them with content, and eventually we also started working on content for them. But all through this, we don't come from the creative side of things. Like, we have always been tinkering around a startup idea of sorts. Like, that's where we come from, and we were in fact offered funding to create like a horizontal play of content around you could do recipes, you could do whatever, like short form content, but we did not pick that. We didn't feel that would be a sustainable business. And true to what we thought today, those models don't really make a lot of money, and it's everybody's trying that. So we are trying something new. I think I don't really want to do a sales pitch here of what we are trying to do, but the idea is to help the world do a lot of video with a supply base that is based in India. So if we could, and that's where really the margins are, right? If you could help companies in the West at least take care of a lot of things, including post-production, stuff like that from India, clearly with an objective of targeting only the enterprise customers and doing videos that are more procedural in nature. It needn't be the most creative of outputs, but testimonial videos or stuff which is very predictable. So that's where we are headed as a company. But yes, we've also had our share of coming out with interesting stories in video, and we also enjoy that a lot. A large part of our team is still very creative, and we also come up with some original content once in a while. But we've also not been able to really crack into the OTT business or any of those in terms of filmmaking in general. But yeah, that's a short background. So Joey is a creative director with us. We have Bobby. Bobby is more of a tech product manager. So the idea is really to understand. For us, the forum is also a place for to gather inputs around how to scale the whole idea of video for the world, and that's where we are coming from. But anyway, that's secondary. I think we can get into the conversation around the lockdown, which is what we started out with. So Hari, how are you? How are you doing this at this point in time? How has the lockdown affected you?
Actually, Chennai is finally kind of opened. So we have, there's an unlockdown. The unlockdown 2.0 is kind of happening. Shoots haven't started in full-fledged, but there is like permission to shoot with a half crew. That's like around 60-member crew. But there are a lot of rules, a lot of protocols in terms of not just the health protocols, there are also a lot of permissions and NOCs. And so before you go for a shoot, it's quite a while. And you can never take the quick turnaround projects as of now, because there is no time for a quick turnaround. You'll have to wait it out and kind of finish. So that's the scene right now with Chennai in terms of production. But during the lockdown, we didn't really do too many films. We did one digital film from Britannia for a lockdown film around the idea of a lockdown. That was one thing where it was just me and my partner. We went and shot with the actor and we kind of finished it. So it was like back to basics of film school. Get your own cam, get your own sound, do it yourself kind of thing. It was fun. So that was the only thing that we did. Otherwise, throughout the whole lockdown, we shot a film in February. So the post-production was going. Everybody took their own sweet time in doing the post-production. So that kept us busy, kind of. That's pretty much how it's been. We are hoping now scripts have started coming in. So we are hoping something will materialize and we'll have the cogwheels running again soon. Let's see. Yeah. So that's the scene with us in Chennai. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Rahul, would you want to elaborate?
Yeah, as Hari mentioned, there have been challenges. So what we started doing, we we started telling, we used to mostly work directly with brands. So most of our work which have started, we work directly with brands. And so we did films, we did 4 to 5 films, but those were mostly during the lockdown, but those were mostly based on edits and using a lot of stock. And we realized that our stock is a big business. So we were never favored of stock. We obviously go and create a frame and love the design and everything. And then now most of the time I'm trying to look for very weird stock, like a stock of a fisherman lady, a lady fisherman stock, and such a specific requirement. So and I'm sure you guys know that we kind of inching towards a third number in India. So the things are very bad. They are not yet improving. The problem of shooting here is that it's the challenge is because most of the time when we used to share, Ahmedabad shared proximity with Bombay, just had 2-3 hours of proximity. So we always used to get equipments from there. We would get our Red Dragons and everything from there. Now the challenge has started becoming is because that facility never existed very properly in Ahmedabad. Now we are struggling because we have to either shoot at a 5D or we have to shoot at a very basic setup. That's what we have to do. And now the challenge is the client expectation still remains the same. You might shoot with a less crew, or you might shoot with your challenges, but the film is a good film and a bad film is a bad film. You buy and and it's reality also as creators. You don't really, once you accept a budgets are on the time of negotiation. After that, it becomes your film. After that, you're very attached to the film. If someone tells it's a bad film, it hurts you as bad as they're just just trying to poke you and see through you. So that has been the challenge which we are setting up now. We are trying to explain to our customers how the expectation has to change. We cannot get into an elaborate setup. We cannot have detail, and we cannot shoot a lot because sanitization and everything has to be there. Also, I think what we are trying to do is we are trying to build our own system to have a small crew, which rightly Hari mentioned, and also to have a system where, we never had insurance policies, which were like health insurance policies on sets. How do you have one-day health insurance policy? And how does the real obligation works? So the challenge which I'm facing with brands, like one of the banking brands where we're working with, I was discussing with them, I said that let's say we shoot and someone contracts COVID. How does a legal obligation work? Is it the production house? Is it the brand that is liable? Is it who really who really engages in that legal obligation? And if the brand wants to absolve themselves from this legal obligation, then we should have that kind of cost attached to it. You can't really be, we always try to externalize the risk, which has been the way of operating. You just externalize the risk. So how are you going to deal that? So that's where we are actually right now. We're trying to build a model, honestly, and trying to get there. So it's a big challenge. But yeah, we are also trying to pivot it, and we are doing a lot of audio. We are trying to do songs. We did one song during the lockdown. So we're trying to see song is something which is really picking up. Like we are trying to tell them do some song, which I saw Axis did a song. I love that song. So there are a lot of things which we are trying to see that if we can do a song and audio mode and try to, and ultimately it becomes to content. So storytelling obviously stays at the core of it. That's what we add value. So yeah, let's trying to getting there. I would say not got there, but trying to figure out ways.
Sure. Yeah, Naren, what about you?
Yeah.
Are you muted?
I'm sorry, as usual, problem. So yeah, I think for us, lockdown started off like we were working continuously, almost for like all the entire lockdown, 60 days we were working straight, like without even a break. But unfortunately, it was so the government wanted support in their emergency IEC communications and all of that. So we had to step in, and the entire health departments, all the content in terms of training content for the doctors and all of that has been done by us. Yeah, but they sucked the blood. Government, as always, didn't pay a penny. 60 days. So I think it was all like, okay, like I'm telling you, the team was all like demoralized. Almost 30 of us were on the team, like working continuously. So it got very intense, I think, but things started picking up. But I still see in Hyderabad, I think we are shooting. We do have all of those protocols that are to be followed. We have a list, yeah. But yeah, shooting in PPE kits was tough. Boys was not, they were not able to do it.
Yeah.
So otherwise, in terms of understanding the customers now is the only thing. We're just going and understanding what they're doing and just tagging along with them. That's the only thing that's happening at this point.
Sure, great. I mean, our story has been also very similar. Something that we did was help a few customers with the post-COVID video of sorts, where how do you opening business after COVID, restrictions and precautions to take, etc. Those kind of stuff. We also worked on a lot of stock plus audio plus all of those kind of films, trying to keep the business going. And we also had a team to take care of office space. So we are mostly giving up on office soon and trying to work remote. That's also something that we are maybe doing till the end of 2020. And I think Karnataka is like as of last week, Karnataka is also open for shoots and all those kind of things. So even that will mostly happen soon. So yeah, we're also very optimistic on the future. In fact, if there is a vaccine that can be found soon, and irrespective of that, we can continue to work. So yeah, and we're also and parallelly, I think 50% of our time is spent in building product. So that's another focus. So I mean, frankly, I'd also like to understand from all of you, what are the other real challenges in creative? I mean, we all know that client comes first. All those things are there. But any other challenge, especially in creative, that you have felt in general? I mean, lockdown, no lockdown, in general as a business, and any thoughts on that?
Naren, you wanna start with the government? I would be interested to hear that. How did you guys manage the COVID creatives with the government? Because it was image brand building. I don't know. Was it reality speaking? How did you guys manage that? Tell me.
Do I tell you the reality?
It is off record. Manu is going to edit out. Don't worry. They have to edit. They will do a good stitch.
So, frankly, I mean, I'm recording only for the sake of, going back, and I don't even know if we'll watch it, but then we record conversations to, go reflect and see, the whole program of sorts. But yeah, absolutely, you can go on. I mean, it's not going to go on any public domain for sure.
What, Naren? Tell us.
Okay, look, things have been, I'm telling you, I think the lockdown was just for the government to settle and accept that this came in. Because nobody was even really aware or clear of what's happening here. It was in that stage. Like, I had to sit in between to bridge all the departments. We literally got out because it was also for the pandemic. We also thought, okay, this is a time that we should, share a lot of stuff that we know now. If this is not coming out, if we are not getting out of it, we are all in the same soup. So we better at least work with them. So that was the whole attitude that we had. I was literally sitting in the IAS officer's cabin for the entire 1 month. I was working out of there only. It was too intense that these guys don't even know how to set up a Zoom call.
Oh my God.
And luckily, we were all like, we had tech guys, like engineers, we had a mix, okay? We had one doctor in our team, like doctor turned filmmaker. So we had these guys sitting and reviewing the WHO's content, yeah. It got to that level because the training material was absurd. We just went like all the 10-hour content, we read it because there were blunders. Swabs collection was a blunder. Nice. How to collect a swab. So yeah, I think the problem was blindly following WHO's guidelines because the local logistics work out differently. There are a lot of things that we have to change and adapt. So these were like pretty much the challenges, but nothing to do with the brand building and all. Yeah, they were not even focused on that. All they wanted was, it got to a point after first 1 week, everything was so open for us. Like, get creative, do that, do this. After a week, you get a mail from the chief secretary saying that, shut up, just replicate what WHO and central government is doing. Simple brief. We were like, okay. So after 1 week, 10 days, I think we were just machines here. Nothing happened. We just churned out a content and just, back. But I think it all died down after a point because they also realized nothing is going to work. Everything was overload of communication, if you ask me. So eventually it all died down, and within like April, May we did. By the end of the May, it was all like done. But otherwise, with corporates, I don't see anything as a challenge. I just see more of a execution problems are definitely there. Yeah. People are scared, right? Like, for us also, maintenance and all of that definitely has gone up. And my office space is one biggest headache for us. Like, we're not using it. I'm paying a bomb. So that's what I started, even like partnering with co-working spaces so that I can rent out 1 or 2 floors to them and get into real estate business for a year. That's all, like trying to just survive this wave. Yeah.
Interesting.
And kind of, yeah, we did take salary cuts and all that. That had to happen. If not, the revenue wasn't there, right? Like 2-3 months straight. So yeah, for us it was a bonus. We were all working, slogging, but no salaries. It was there.
I think it was also, I mean, initially when the lockdown happened, everybody wanted to help. Like, I think everyone was ready to pick up pro bono work, and in fact, we also
we got a lot of help to do.
Yeah. And finally, I think, as you rightly pointed out, there is a lot of information asymmetry. I mean, everyone wants to put out content there. I mean, the smallest of organizations want to put out content around COVID. So ultimately, I think it's all died down now. There is a great deal of clarity on what needs to be done.
Right.
Yeah, and I think these challenges. I mean, I don't know about you guys, Hari and Rahul. Do you guys have large offices, or how do you guys operate?
Hari, I would go after Hari. I'm interested to hear that.
Okay. Okay. Can you guys hear me clearly? Because it's been a little on and off from me. Okay. Actually, before I wanted to speak about, I was listening to Rahul speak of this whole new system that was being. Actually, it's a very interesting topic, and it is something that I have been pondering over and discussing with a lot of people during the whole lockdown. The film industry as such, the way we function is a very, I mean, Bombay is one off for an advertising place, but the rest of the cities have a very unique way of working. They're a little unorganized, and it's a very organic way of functioning. Okay, there is a lot of camaraderie emotion attached. It's plus professionalism. We are kind of in between, in South at least. Okay. And for me, I think it's a great time to kind of reset and kind of start designing a crew in a very efficient sense. And it's a possibility now because you have a reason. Otherwise, you don't really have a reason to do a lot of design when you want to work with a smart crew. Otherwise, you have to have at least have 100 people on your set. And even if you don't want to have 100 people, you cannot escape from it. I mean, as much as I understand the reason that you need, a lot of people's pays are dependent, so it's all right at a time. But there are times when I just want to have a 30-member crew and not crowd the space up with 100 people, right? So I guess it's a great time actually in that way to kind of coordinate and kind of redesign the whole thing, and also to kind of put people who are generally not in any kind of a communication structure to bring them into a structure. Arey sir, aapne phone nahi kiya, ye nahi kiya, wo nahi kiya. It's a great time to kind of put them into a system in that way, where at least it's a good learning curve for them as well, is what I think, because they'll also be open, because they also understand something called the new norm, or there's something called a new approach that has started trickling into productions. So I think in that sense, it's a good thing. And the other thing was the insurance part that Rahul was mentioning about. We were also kind of, so since we had thought of something, I'm just sharing it so if it helps and we can talk about it. So one thing that we kind of planned is, we also had the same thing. Who takes the responsibility, or the onus falls on who? So as of now, it seems like the onus is pretty much on the production house. The brands are not really taking an onus. So, but now the thing comes, project versus the onus. So we go for the project. So what we started to do is, the format that we have come up with, we kind of have a declaration, which every member of the crew, it's a 60-member crew, everybody has to kind of sign off saying that they were okay before the shoot, and
Okay.
it's their
Nice.
full responsibility. And we take a sign off from them saying so and so, and then including the actors and everybody, right?
Mm.
So we kind of have a declaration, and then we have an insurance that we're trying to get an insurance which kind of has a limited period. So,
Yeah.
for example, a 4-day window from the day of the shoot, which is
Yeah.
generally the COVID. If you're affected on the day of the shoot, you generally
Yeah.
take 3 to 4 days to come. And to be fair, we give the 3 to 4 days window. And if anybody is affected by it, probably we can help you sort things out.
Did you guys were able to find such a product? Were you guys able to spot such a insurance product?
Supposedly, I haven't seen any document, but
Okay.
verbally, I did speak to a few people, my line producers, and there's one insurance person that I know. He said it is possible to kind of figure out a way to kind of have it over a limited period. Now, this clause is something that I also still need to kind of look into detail, but the window can be reduced to something very minimal.
Because travel insurance works like that. I mean, you ideally, when you take a travel insurance, when you're traveling to US or something, and if you have a 5-day trip also, you can take a travel insurance which covers 5 days. So I was trying to leave from there and say something like this, or there's a blanket insurance where people on whatever you give an insurance coverage to the firm that's saying whoever is on that day of shoot stands insurance deemed stands insurance for another 4-5 days, and you get X amount. You could be a pool of funds. Let's say you have a pool of fund of 5-10 lakh rupee, and you say this 5-10 lakh rupees pool which can be accessed by the people who probably fall sick, and if you extend the pool, you kind of get. So I think that's something I don't know, but I'm also trying to figure, because that becomes at a humane level, that is, I feel, I mean, it is very easy to externalize the risk, which I agree, which you should, which is very valid. But the challenge is what I also feel that they are working because, we had spot boys calling us and saying, sir, paisa nahi hai, kuch bhi nahi hai, and we said, okay, take some money, survive.
Correct.
They really don't have any other optional skill set. So they would be pushed to come out of the homes. And I just want to make sure, something is taken, because we are not that big as an Excel Entertainment who will have a van and a isolation wards and centers. I just saw a video by Excel Entertainment. They literally have a massive setup and isolation wards on the sets and all. I mean, for us, it would be 10 people crew trying to work together. So it's, kind of, I agree. So if you guys come across such insurance, that would be really great of help. I'm really trying to talk to people who not really figured out a solution, like an instrument coming to us. Yeah, Hari.
Surely. So so that was the way that we were thinking. And then we do have a cost, and we put it very explicitly in the budget document, that the COVID fee. So which basically we don't try to hide it or anything. We literally say that's the norm. You got to pay for it. If you need a film, you got to pay for it. You need to take care of the people that are making the film for you. It's a responsibility now. That's the angle in which that we kind of tell that. So nobody really nobody can say or, kind of argue too much on that point. So, but we've been very clear, open on that point, saying the gears cost so much and insurance costs so much, and so on. That's what it is. And we put it out there. But so that's how, as of now, we have approached this thing, but it's sure to evolve and become more definite. It's not really a solution, but it's a step, I think. So that's that.
How has been the journey on content-wise, Hari? I would like to hear from you, because you're senior and you've seen the whole, films to web show. Tell us
senior is a little too big a word. I got that. But anyway, I'll tell you. Actually, when we ventured out, after we did film, our soul always lied in story to fiction. Okay. But the truth of the fact is, the whole thing is that we need to keep the homes running. So you need to kind of build in, because we realized in the struggle of existing, we forget to excel.
Okay.
Right?
Nice.
So we wanted to first wanted to sort out the existence part. And so we kind of, that's one we started working with Kyle. So we started doing a lot of commercials, and that's been going strong. And we built it very slowly, and it's been 8 years now. So now we have some decent, we're not like loaded like a lot of Bombay production houses. We get our slew of films which are I mean, organically, without us knowing, I think there is a certain style that is coming, and there is a certain film language that is coming with our kind of film. So now people come to us for a certain kind of film to be made. So that is kind of set us, given us one space to be in. So the existence is sorted. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. So that way, so we're doing like, so then I think last year in 2000, we are in 20, in 2018, from 2016, we kind of started writing a lot of content, scripts, actually, development, because we strongly believe that writing is what is majorly lacking in a lot of content, are mainly the South. I think Hindi, Marathi also is kind of really pushed their writing so well, but it's South in that way. What the North sees of South is a very filtered version.
Yeah,
Get it,
true.
right? The rare few films like Pizza or Visaranai, those are gems of films that you rarely see. But what
Super
overall,
Deluxe. Super Deluxe, yeah,
Super
same.
Deluxe, they're all a once in a while phenomena that happens. But there is no basic standard of writing that I think needs to come in, right? So our focus was to kind of build our content in that perspective of writing content which is written well. That was the idea. So we started writing. Then we first wrote a film, and then we kind of thought of a series, an anthology. So by the time we finished writing the anthology, the OTTs started, and they said, "Sorry, boss, we don't do anthologies anymore because it's not really giving us the footfall that needs to." As much as Black Mirror is a hit, it kind of didn't really do much, right? And or you need to be a star like ghost stories or love stories for you to have an anthology. So then, what, and also the script that we wrote, a lot of people couldn't understand in the script level. So we went ahead and invested in making a pitch film where we shot the first episode ourselves.
Oh, so you invested in the pilot episode. You invested yourself.
Yeah. We invested ourselves into the pilot episode, and we made it the way it would ideally be. It's not a stopgap film where I just want to communicate the idea.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a film that will tell you what is the quality of storytelling that we can show you.
So this is how actually pilot will be. This is how our first episode.
Yeah, this is how. Yes, it will be. No compromise. So we kind of went ahead and did the first episode like that, and with that we started showing it to a lot of people, and it took us almost 2018 September. We shot the first. We wrote it in 2017. We developed almost 10 episodes, waiting. We finished the entire series of writing. And then we shot the first episode in September of 2018. And then we started, we finished it by December. We finished the first proper cut. We showed it around, and then we started pitching it to a lot of people. By then, I think the anthology phase kind of went off. So a lot of things, but still we didn't want to change it. Initially, we didn't want to push the change too much. We thought, let's sell it for the idea that it is. And I think now in 2020, during the lockdown, we kind of made way to one of the OTTs where they are interested. But now it's a kind.
That's a good news. That's a good news. Like this.
Yeah, that's a good news for us. Yeah. So. There is a change in story wise. Still, the OTT anthology didn't work, so we kind of rewrote the whole thing in a Sutradhar format. So we have a storyteller who's kind of taking you through the story with a overarching journey of the Sutradhar himself. So we kind of built it like that.
You have a narrator, and kind of he narrate taking you. Yeah, nice, interesting.
Yeah, and the narrator has a story too.
So just an interesting question from my understanding. One is that, when you write a content like this, you write it, you believed in the content, and then you go ahead and you build a pilot. And I'm sure it took us 2 years to run through the pilot and pitch to the OTTs. Now, a very honest question: that is this are you looking at more like, okay, the OTT comes and builds it and takes it up, and you move forward on it? Or when you invest in such an idea, is it something which becomes your IP, which becomes your content, and this is something part of Kadai Films, and it's gonna stay with you guys for another 5-6 years and going forward? how do you guys are looking at that? It's more like one-off thing. You sold it to OTT, done, or we're gonna
See,
invest.
actually, the vision that we have is we wanted to be. See, we realize we are not great business people as such. As much as we have survived it, we are not really the best business people. Our strength lies in content creation, and we want to kind of be there as much as possible. So the idea as a vision is to kind of create a space where we can actually push that kind of content that we actually want to push. Okay, that is the main vision. I mean, as ideal as this sounds, the journey is towards that. So obviously there might be a little detour here and there, but that is where we are heading. That is the overall vision that we want, where we will be able to tell stories that we want to by the end of it without too much commercial intervention, right? So that is one. And a lot of times we come across content that can actually become stories and we can make. So that is one. And answering your question of how putting out the content is, in the initial stages, right? It's very difficult to own the IP. For example, now this content, the power lies with the OTT as of now. Probably after 2-3 shows, probably I'll have a say, which will be much stronger. But right now, honestly, they want it fully.
Full IP. So if you do the first season, season does amazing. The second season, you still have to go with them to launch it on their platform.
So what we are trying to, see, according to their agreement or what they are saying, all rights belong to them and they will do whatever they want to do with it. So what we are trying to propose to them is, please give us the first right to refuse, and
makes sense.
Also, and the character IP should belong to us. You can take the story IP. I mean, you can take the series IP. That's fine. But the characters need to belong to us. So that if when tomorrow I can use this character and do something else, I won't do the same show. But if this character, like Breaking Bad, Calling Saul. So I can go ahead and do a Calling Saul if somebody is not ready to do a Breaking Bad. So at least that is the only mid ground that we could kind of think of at this point in time when you don't really have a power as such. So, but if you are Anurag Kashyap or if you are Zoya Akhtar, they won't say anything. They will just give it to you, give you the money, and they'll get you done. The show is done. So but I guess that's the drill as of now. You kind of have to go through it till you kind of get a strong hold. And then I think we can start mending ways.
As a content, as a director, do you love OTT or theater? Does it really?
To be very honest, no. I mean, theater love is always there. It's it's always there. But I'm not against digital because for a long time, I have been pro digital, and I have always seen this coming.
Yeah.
I have never really. It never stuck. It's not a surprise to me that whatever is happening now. I've been discussing this ever since we started Kada in 2012 that we have to kind of make this transition at some point in time because it is coming. It's like winter is coming, so you kind of have to
get your jackets on. Get your jackets on. It's out.
Get your jackets on. Yeah. In a very independent filmmaker angle, I think it's very liberating because. When we wrote a lot of feature, the kind of system that we are in right now doesn't let you produce it. As much as they say cameras are there, everything is there now, it all takes a filmmaker to go out there and shoot. It's not that simple unless it is as basic as
in a traditional world, sometimes I feel in the traditional world, the easiest thing is to make a film. To release a film and is the most difficult. Correct. You might make a film and you might be happy you made a good film. But actually, to make 1,000 people to see that film is where it will take your really toll. I mean, to get the space.
Absolutely. I think that's also a stand that most of our filmmakers should take. Are you there for the art? Are you there to put it out there? You should be very clear because both are two different approaches. If you're just doing it for your sake, I think then there's no questions, nothing asked. You can just do the way you like it whenever you feel like it. And nobody's going to ask. But if you are sure that this has to reach 1,000 people, you will have to think about that. I mean, in a very unprivileged sense, you have to think about it. When you have the privilege, then I think you can do whatever you like.
You're different. Then if you have some privilege, then you're different. Manu, what do you think on that, man? You come from a technology side also.
Yeah, I think my experience has been this, because as we've been building our team, a lot of people who come in, I mean, we work on client projects, so a lot of people who come in generally come from the other side, where they're doing things on their own, independent musicians, etc. So this happened 2 days back, where I put together a WhatsApp group. We had to do a track for a client. I put together a WhatsApp group with a musician and the client on the other side. There's me and another person. And this person did like a 15-second scratch and put it on the WhatsApp. It's not mastered, or it's just put on the WhatsApp group. And the client's first instinct is, you only used 2 instruments or something like that, something as random. And this guy goes bonkers. He's like, and he starts writing stuff like, "Hey, Mister, this is not like this," and all that. So I had to call him up and say that it's so different working on client projects, right? When you have a client on the other side, you get a jolt, actually, like the first 2-3 times, because the client does not understand all these things, and neither, I mean, he's looking at it from his perspective and his understanding. So initially, everybody gets a jolt. So my experience of the last 3 years has been to tell team members or collaborators that this is so very different. I mean, it's a completely different world. You are trying to do something for someone else who's possibly not also understanding what you go through while doing this, and ultimately it's his property, so you can always have your own director's cut or whatever to say for yourself, but then ultimately you have to deliver something that he wants, because you have to empathize with him. He has a business need and he wants it in that manner, in that size or shape, because he has a client need and he has people about him to also please. So this is something that we always go through almost every day. And my colleague Joey keeps telling, there are marketeers on the other side. Those guys are not creators, right? So when you're actually working with marketing folk, they are coming from a very different background. They're not coming from a creative background, but then they are approving projects, they're commissioning projects. Sometimes they don't understand what it takes, and ultimately they only look at the final outcome. So ultimately, I keep telling my team, a very important rule is to empathize with the client's requirement. At the end of the day, he has to win for us to win. And for us to win, we have to have repeat business coming, etc. So we are not, like, our business is clearly not just, high quality production. For us, when we start working with an enterprise, we have to do everything, right? From like the smallest of, like a 15-second video that he would want to send out to his own, like maybe team, all the way up to, everything else that he would want. So, that's the kind of company that we tried building. So large teams and all of that. So we had grown to around almost 37 people, I think, about 6 months back. Now we've kind of cut down and we're slightly smaller, but yeah, this is always the case, right? You have to empathize with that person's requirement. That's key to working on client projects, because you really don't know what that guy is going through. And this is something that, I have to say every day to my team. Yeah.
No, that's true. I think it's what Hari said is very interesting. So Hari, we have been on that similar journey. So in fact, what we did, we added a little masala to this. So what we did, so sometime back, because luckily in my production house, I come from the business side. So I have a experience. I used to sell IT. I was in Bangalore, in fact, and I used to stay in Bangla, and I've sold a lot of IT. I used to work for a firm called Data Semantics. We used to head up analytics, data analytics, sales. Okay. I'm a chartered accountant by qualification, so I come from a very business side. So what I did, I don't know if that tip can be useful. And what I did is mostly how companies have been working is that, okay, marketer comes and there's a need-based requirement, which is typically comes and says, hey, we want to, there's a upcoming Diwali season is coming and we want an ad and blah, blah, blah. Can you do something like this? Great. It works. You get a brief and you get it out. What I started doing with the clients, which I already have, I started building assets and a little pilots and trying and going and pitching to them. So we, in fact, did that experiment and it kind of worked. So what we did, we designed a song for a brand called, because this video is not going on YouTube, on LinkedIn, so I'm sharing this name, the brand called HCG. I don't know if you guys have heard of HCG. It's a famous chain of hospitals which typically, operate. They're cancer specialists. Hari, are you there? Oh, I see Naren also. Naren is also there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I have a call now at 1.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
You guys are dealing with HCG, Rahul?
Yeah, man, we dealt in past, yeah. Then we did a lot of pitches. They liked it, but we didn't go. And then we ended up doing the same thing with Edelweiss Tokyo, the pitch.
Yeah, I think they have a different this thing now. They're moving into training and all. They're moving into a school, Global Healthcare Academy. The directors of HCG, along with another partners that I know, they've started up in Bangalore, but now again it's a big hit for them. The production and all stuff.
Yeah.
So can I actually have to join another call at 1.
Sure, man. Take care.
I will touch base again with you guys. It was nice. I mean, at least we should do this once a month, maybe. How are we? Actually, this should be a free time. Like, we can chit chat.
Absolutely. I think we'll definitely continue this from where
yes,
we
I will take your contacts from Manu and I'll ping you guys too, both of you.
Sure, Naren.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Nice meeting
Joy
you.
and Bobby. Nice to have you on the call. Chalo, see you guys.
Thank you, Naren.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, see you. Bye.
So what I was saying is that what we did with HCG, we went with a song with HCG. We made a small song. They were like, oh, this is great and all. I mean, we wrote a song for them and they didn't like it. Then I went with this song to Narayana hospitals. Narayana is also a customer. We did some work for Narayana. When they said, oh, we are not sure. And then we take the same song and the song was really good. And then we sold it to Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance. And they loved it and we made a film out of it. What I realized is that somewhere what really differentiates us from the marketeer is that when I start pitching as a piece of content, rather than I start pitching saying, hey, what is the requirement you have? So what I realized that content, obviously where I add value, where we try to add value is that we try to have their brand understanding in the content. The content is not totally disparate and not totally not connected with their brand. We try to make sure that there's some connection, which is a subtle connection also, but it connects to the brand ethos and the brand ideology. And that I have seen started picking up in last 1 year. Brands have now consciously started understanding, because I think last 2016-17, they spent time in creating digital platforms. They spend money on their Facebooks, creatives, getting digital agencies. Suddenly Facebook karo, Instagram karo, Snapchat karo, ye karo. Ab sab khol diya, ab YouTube bhi khol diya, sab khol diya. Now the challenge is उसमें करने का क्या? YouTube channel आप तो कुछ डाल ही नहीं रहे हो. You just don't have anything to put. And now you're struggling that, okay, how many festivals will celebrate? How many days you're going to celebrate now? But if you are able to build an identity through content and an engagement. So in fact, we told them that there was a brand when we did this song, and this song was almost 2.5 minutes or 3 minute song. It was long. So when we did this song, 3 minute song, we told them, don't worry on the retention. You'll have a very high retention rate. And we worked them to tell them, see, you have a very high retention rate, but if you're making a good content, if you're hitting a slope. So that somewhere, I mean, it's a very small thing that somewhere got us to create a content as well as get paid for it. It still kept the originality intact. We still enjoyed it. It was not just a 30-second slot came in and went, hey, sabun le lo, it's something le lo. Then came and went. I honestly, I'm facing the same struggle. So in fact, Hari, we have written shows, we are pitching to OTT platforms, and that's the same struggle, because as a content house, we want to invest in the content. And that's an investment. I mean, owning your IP and licensing it out, or trying to figure it out. And that's where we always feel that I honestly feel, as coming from a sales, that in the whole game equation of content, creators get the least of the money. If you look at it, the whole game, I mean, it is rigged in a way, the system is such a way that, so the person who actually creates the film, or who acts in the film, or the person who writes it will be very sad in Bollywood. The lowest paid person is probably a writer. Sometimes the writer guy is getting less money than a gaffer.
Right.
The money what they're paying to a gaffer, which is senior gaffer, is over the film, over a period of film, and the shifts he has done is probably more than the money they pay to the writer of the film. And that equation is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
which we are turning around. Also, I feel lockdown has given us an opportunity where a lot of talent is available. पहले क्या था, the talent was also challenged. I mean, every talent wanted
True.
to only work in Bombay and only wanted to work with Anurag Kashyap and Phantom Films. Now they are realizing, okay, you know, the world is changing, and being lean is the new thing. So being lean, not as, I mean, looking at me, I'm not
Actually,
lean,
even
but
this whole
lean as an
Zoom
organization.
thing has changed. Now they actually know that you can make a film in any part of the country, and you don't actually
Exactly.
have to go to Bombay.
Yeah, you don't have to meet actually. You don't have to physically see. You know, you can still
Yeah,
make a
and
film.
agencies can finally stop coming to the shoots.
Exactly. I mean, that's such a good. That's so good, nah? Do you guys feel that agencies are the one? Agency director is a person who wanted to become a film director, but he became an agency director. I always feel that agency directors are like that.
No, they are basically the non-risky director, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's
If
true.
it
They
goes
want to
right,
direct the film, but still the ownership is with the main director. मैं बताएगा क्या करने का, but ultimately खराब है अच्छा है आपको देखने का, but करने का तो जो मैं बोलेगा वैसा
but
करने का.
also no. But on a flip side, I'm happy they're there on the set because a lot of post thing gets cleared off because मैंने तो उस दिन ही बता दिया आपको कि यही होगा. I'm at least safe that way. You
But
know that is something that
Ari, I just want to understand because you know you've been doing, and we want to get into a content space. We did our first film called Song We Sang. I'll share the link with all of you guys. It is being premiered right now at Kashish. I don't know if you Kashish Film Festival that happens in Bombay. You guys know.
I know. Yeah,
So Kashish, it is being premiered, India premiere. We won a Satyajit Ray jury mention in London Film Festival. I'll share it with you
Wow.
guys. Now I'm
Congratulations.
going to OTT, so that's one part. But talking about on OTT, do you think, just a thing, we have built a pitch, we are trying to pitch. Do you think investing in a pilot shows your conviction as to this is the story we want to say? Vis-a-vis, you go with a pitch to an OTT and say, hey, there is a pitch, there is a beautiful content pitch. What do you guys think? Or you say, no, when you make a pilot, you really show to the guys on the other side of table, we believe in this concept. It's not like an ad pitch. You go and say to the concept, बोलता है कि यार अच्छा नहीं है, इसमें थोड़ा youngster डाल दो ना, तो you go back and you again start writing, चलो इसमें youngster fit करता है. What do you think on that? Like,
Right.
just your
Yeah, I'll tell you. I personally see there are two things actually. Okay, let me just take what we have done as an example and probably cite. I can kind of tell you what I think of it. What when say for example the first one which we had pitched and which is hopefully getting greenlit is something called Story of Things. Okay, it's called Story of Things. That's the name of the series.
nice, yeah.
Okay. So it's in a very weird space. It's a little psychological thriller drama kind of a thing where you cannot really define the genre in which it is.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I send you a concept note, you will never be able to visualize what exactly it is. And the visualization will change from, and especially in an OTT, it's all run by corporates, and every member of the hierarchy is going to imagine it in his way.
Yeah, true.
So it never kind of comes to a consensus key. Can we buy this content or not? Like, can we invest into this or not from a OTT? That's what I understand from their side. So now by doing a pitch, you kind of clear all this and say, this is our visualization. Whether it is a full episode or just a bit of a pitch scene or whatever you want to say, which will basically is a sell, should basically drive home the point. This is what we are trying to sell. And I think that clears a lot of doubts. And then when you talk about your content also, they exactly know what you mean and not let them imagine. So I think that's a good investment in that say, so that the sell becomes easier. But where you might not need this is probably a drama, where it is purely on a conversation or purely on the characters, where in our Story of Things is very mood driven also. It has a lot of visual strength to the film. So it had to kind of have a visual support. But we are developing one other like a drama, like a women drama kind of a thing, which actually we just kind of use a lot of Vimeo videos and kind of cut it to a soundtrack. But we compose the soundtrack to kind of give that whole feel. So
yeah,
we kind of so we kind of cut a trailer, but with track footage from Vimeo, with the kind of mood that we want the whole story to be in. So that will work as a pitch for that, because that's all it is. I mean, and the rest of the drama lies in the story. There is nothing more to it. So by adding a visual, I think it just helps you sell fiction better. Because what I realize, more of the people who are sitting are not filmmakers, not creative people. They're mostly, I mean, no offense, but mostly MBA grads and people who are just looking at it only as a sell point. You get it, right? Ki ye bikega ki nahi.
Yeah.
Which is a much needed point. I'm not saying no, but it also needs to have a creative point of view.
But I think most of the time, like I know UTV was better run when it was being run by Ronnie Screwvala. Disney took it over and they had to shut it down. Fox came to India, they couldn't run, and so is everyone, Warner Brothers.
Sorry.
The reason
Sorry,
still
go ahead.
the reason still family businesses are still running good films. Probably they're making films which connect to people, is because it is not a very clear mathematics when it comes to content.
Correct.
You can't really draw.
There's a lot of gut feel.
Yeah, it's a lot of, you can't really go by a mathematical algorithm calculation saying, hey, you have a ladka, ladki. Because see, it is like you going on a Tinder date. There's a guy, the guy likes basketball, the guy likes dog, the guy likes food and everything, and you end up saying, iska match ho jayega. But when you go, you realize, bloody, everyone makes bhaji pav, everyone makes, like, example, any dish, but the same ingredients, but the mix is the challenge. I mean, you mostly focus on the tick marks, ki ladka hai, ladki hai, young age है, 16 to 24 का bracket है, keyword आ गया, ठीक है यार, ये set है flip, right? But people don't consume content like that, right? They consume, it's
Exactly.
a mix. And that is difficult to, come out in that, yeah.
Sure. And not just that, from a production standpoint also, I don't know if I can ever write to a requirement. How will I write a fiction to a requirement? It's not an ad.
Big challenge, yeah.
Today I feel like writing a murder. I will write a murder. You suddenly cannot ask me to write a comedy. I cannot, because it's just not in the system, right? So that is also
we get a requirement. 16 to 24 ka rom-com. Now how do you fucking sit down and write 16? I'm not 16 to 24. I don't connect with 16 to 24 rom-com. Yeah? My time rom-com was very different. Yeah, I never had 16 to 24 today's style of rom-com.
So the only solution to that is you have to scale up. You have to scale up and have so many writers on board, or you have such a kind of a system where you can actually distribute and write. For that, you need to have a good pool of writers. For that, you have to nurture writers. If writers are underpaid, never going to get writers.
Yeah.
So it's a big vicious circle that we are in right now, which we are slowly trying to change.
You have to allow the writers to experiment. You have to allow them. You have to allow them to fail. You have to allow them to experiment. They have to allow them to ponder. Now, when you say someone allowed to ponder, and it doesn't fit into the whole corporate structure. Allow ponder मतलब क्या होता है? मतलब there's an ROI. Ponder deliver an ROI यार. ये ROI कैसे आएगा? Ponder करेगा. Ponder करेगा तो खाली सोचेगा ना. फिर उसको जब अच्छा thought आएगा तब अपन उसको पैसा देगा. Then it becomes freelancing, and then when you're in freelancing, oh my god. Then there's.
To be honest, we went on a writer hunt for almost ever since we wrote this, and we were been searching for a writer with new age sensibilities, not the typical cinema sensibility. Somebody who can understand the new age kind of film language and structure, and not write a typical formulaic writing.
Yeah.
A lot of young writers are also stuck in that, because at the end of the day, they have to make the bread and butter, so they have to write to this old system. They are not given the space to explore. And so what we did is eventually spotted people with potential, but have no affiliation to screenplay writing, and we have been trying to nurture them into writing new age content.
You're gonna do really good capacity building. So they're gonna speak up to you guys. I'm pretty sure. Writing is going to be an asset, man. That is.
So we kind of doing it. So we kind of. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that totally. I totally buy that point. And so we realize that's where the whole the core is. So we need to strengthen that up. So we are slowly trying to identify these writers, and if possible hire, if not, at least nurture them with some kind of support system, give them some kind of help.
How do you back it financially? It is the ad work, or you guys are raising some investment?
Yeah. No. As of now, there's no investment. Whatever we earn, so we don't see our crew is our team is not a very huge team. We are a team of 3 of us founders, and then we have 2 ADs. That's it. And everyone else works on project basis. Okay. based on the requirement. Otherwise, it's just 5 of us chilling. And then, so we have kind of internally allocated a certain amount to building a writers collective of sorts, where we want to kind of see if we can how we can develop this breed, So that has been a thing. It's not, we realize it's a very slow process, but we have to be at it, is what we thought. So we're trying to kind of do it on the side.
That's very interesting. I think that's a great learning for me. Manu, what do you guys think, man? How are you guys also trying to work with OTT, man? Or anything on content side?
We tried that 3 years back. In fact, I'll quickly, I have to also leave in the next couple of minutes.
Sure.
So what we did was we wrote something, we pitched, in fact, one of us went to Bombay, we met, all that happened. And the big realization, and we did a lot of auditions in Bangalore and stuff like that to get it going. But the big realization was, we don't have writing talent in Bangalore, so it's impossible to put something together being here. And we realized it was not our cup of tea also, because most of us were from the business side and not from really the storytelling side. We felt it was a big opportunity.
Manu, all the good writers are in Kerala right now.
Yeah, and our team is predominantly 80% of us are Keralites. We're in Bangalore. In fact, we had people from Kerala also come in and meet us, and a lot of things happened. But eventually, a couple of years back, we decided not to take that route. We are not going to OTTs anymore. We are not going to be in the fiction storytelling space. We are more technology focused and startup focused. So even the content that we did was a documentary film that we had shot in Silicon Valley in San Francisco. The other one was we wanted to sell that to Hotstar, and we had some discussions, but nothing happened afterwards. Then we wrote like a fiction drama on the startup industry, like inspired by pictures and all that. Again, we tried selling that. That did not happen. So today we are not doing that. We are out of it. We are building a tech platform to enable all these things to happen. So yeah, I think shall we close this for today? Maybe we'll take it up the next time.
Sure. Man, it was great. Yeah. Hari, thanks a lot. Manu, thanks for setting up this session, man.
Great.
Really had my good.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Manu.